Are some of the developers still really loud as loud? To me, it sounds okay. It's good. All right, perfect. We developed the CTC Express tools, so you may use them in your regular Revit workflows. So, yeah, what we're going to do is talk about the class description here, less about me, more about the class. So, the whole idea of this is, many of us are pulling data out of our Revit models. And just to be clear, this class is not really about Revit as much. I'll be using it because that's where most of us source our data from, but it's not really a class about Revit. It's a class about where you take your data after Revit. And so, or during your life cycle of using Revit. I'm going to talk about one example today. So, many of us use spreadsheets. We take our data out in spreadsheets. We like to build these columns and rows, but that data just isn't all that sexy. So we're going to talk about how to take that data and make it a little bit more interesting and use a couple of different data sources. And you guys have a number of tools to get there. So, different ways of doing some Revit data extraction. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to do a lot of demonstration on that. That's not the focus. We'll talk about how to get information into Microsoft's Power BI. Talk about what that is also. We're going to build a quick little simple report in Power BI. I'm going to show you a couple of others that I've worked with before. And we're also going to talk about how to basically just communicate more Revit information to other people in the party who aren't necessarily in Revit, or to you yourself to understand bits of information about your Revit models. So, again, exact order I'm trying to go through: data extraction, intro to Power BI, importing data, generate a couple reports, publish some things, and talk about how you get some of the tools that you need. So, first of all, how can you extract some data out of Revit? This is the only part I'm really going to talk a lot about Revit itself. You can take a schedule, a Revit schedule itself, and you can save it out as a CSV file. You can take that CSV file if you want to and pull it into an Excel spreadsheet, but it's just flat data. It's from one schedule. You have the ability to use tools like Dynamo. Many of you probably taken Dynamo classes today, or not today, this last week. And it's a fantastic tool. You can do a lot with Dynamo. You can manipulate information. You can pull data out to outside sources. It's a great tool. If you feel like you want to get into it, go for it. That's an excellent way to pull data out of Revit. There's plenty of spreadsheet tools that are already written out there to pull data from Revit to a spreadsheet. There's Spreadsheet Link tool that we offer. There's the one by IDA, what's called VimLink. There's Rushforth Tools has some tools for that. And there's plenty of people out there who pull data out of Revit. I'm not here to pimp any one, even though mine's the best, but that's not what we're talking about. So, you can pull data to Excel in a lot of different ways. Revit in the past, and I think it's still semi-maintained, has a tool called RDP Link or DP Link for Revit. If I recall correctly, though, it only works on 32-bit Windows installations, and I don't think any of us in this room are actually still using 32-bit Windows installations, so it doesn't do you any good. So yeah, too bad for that. There's plenty of others as well. In fact, I'm going to talk about one specifically in a moment here that's going to let me pull some data from Revit out to SQL in somewhat of an automated way and a very well structured way. That kind of replaces the DB Link tool for those of you who want that. So many different formats though. I'm just listing 3 up here that are pretty popular. But there's probably 100 extra formats that are out there and other tools that this tool, Power BI, will talk to you. So how do you pick what you want to do? How complex do you have to get to pull your data out? So there's just a couple of things here. Do you need to have a lot of information or just a really refined small portion of data? Are you wanting to just take your doors or just your rooms and the information you can schedule about your rooms and present that in an interesting way about a project? Well, in that case, you can probably just take a schedule and save it out as a CSV. It's simple, it's easy, you don't need any custom tools to do that, no programming knowledge whatsoever. That's very simple and very straightforward. Do you want to take data from multiple categories? Maybe you want to take your rooms, you want to take furniture components that are in those rooms, maybe you want to take door objects, you want to take lighting fixtures, you want to take some HVAC components, and you want to take all their information all together and get a larger idea of the information about your project. You could do a bunch of individual schedules, but that's a bit more cumbersome. So for that type of process, if you're going to do it repetitively, you might want to use an add-in of some sort to help you take data from Revit and pull it out to Excel. Whether it be Spreadsheet Link, whether it be using Dynamo, whether you're using anything like that, using it is a bit more powerful. Do you need to edit geometry at the same time? I have some clients who are taking data from Reddit as they pull it out, and they want to, while they're querying the information, also purge their models, also drop extra information back into the root elements that they can use in their internal Reddit schedule. Okay, in that case, if you're editing data at the same time and maybe creating geometry or deleting geometry, at that point you probably should be looking at Dynamo, for sure, because that tool is great for leveraging that type of workflow. And then finally, if you need to be tracking this information over time, and this is kind of the area that I'm going to be focusing on today, is tracking data over time with Power BI. And for that, it's probably ideal to be dumping your information, regardless of which tool you're using, dumping your information into some kind of database. And for today, I'm going to be using SQL. So let's take a look at Power BI. So we'll dig into this and stop talking too much about Reddit. So it's a free-ish Microsoft tool. Okay, you can go up to Microsoft.com/Power BI, just search for Power BI, and you'll find a tool. You can get a free download. You can try it out. You can see what it does. It's got some nerd functionality when it's free. If you don't purchase it, you can't do certain things, like you can't publish the websites, I believe. I was talking about that a little earlier today. There's a couple of other things. You can't use certain data sources if you don't have a fully paid version. But for the most part, what we need with Reddit, other than the publishing to like internal internet pages, you should be fine with the free version of Power BI. At least dabble with it and play with it and start building it up and see what you can do with it. Maybe do some static reports to take some static information out. It is a cloud-based service, which is why it's a free-ish tool. If you want to start pushing your information up to the Power BI cloud portion and get it publicly accessible, handing it out to other people, then you can start paying for some services from Microsoft. The cool thing about Power BI, and there's other tools that do this as well, right? There's Tableau, there's some open source tools that do this, there's a lot of other things. I'm using this one as one example. And the real reason, let me just take a step back for a second here. The reason I'm talking about this today for everybody is not because Power BI or Tableau are maybe super cool and new. It's just because I've been asked a lot lately about how to do other alternative presentations of data out of Reddit. So that's kind of why I'm doing this today. So the interactive reports is the reason why I kind of picked this. It's an easily accessible tool you guys can get your hands on right away with no real upfront cost. You can start dabbling with it immediately. Okay, so great interactive reports. You know, in Excel, for example, you have pivot tables, there's some interactivity there, it's kind of cool, but Power BI takes it to the next level and gives you even more control. So, another nice feature of Power BI is that there's mobile and desktop solutions. So once you publish this information out, you save it out to the Power BI cloud portion, you get the ability to kind of open it up on a tablet, present it to some people, let them review the information, review it yourself, you know, wherever you are. And another nice thing about this is that you can take in multiple data sources. Of course, I talked about that a little moment ago. So let's talk about importing some data, and pretty soon I'm going to actually jump into Power BI. I am not a big fan of death by PowerPoint, so pardon me while we get through this initial portion here. We'll actually jump into the software in a moment here. Importing data is actually relatively easy, depending on what type of data it is you want. If it's just Excel, super simple. You can import the information directly, do a little bit of data manipulation if you need to. Most of that isn't going to be that necessary, but you can bring information. Can be as complex as it needs to be. I personally like to try, if I'm using Excel specifically, to pre-filter my information before I even bring it in. I like to get it sort of cleaned up a little bit, maybe run some Excel formulas, maybe run some calculations before I even get that data brought into Power BI, because then I'm leveraging Power BI's internal stuff, which is, you know, Power BI isn't a data manipulation tool, it's a data presentation tool. And it has some filtering you can do, and it has some data transcribing you can do, some, you know, massaging, but it's not really what it's built for. It's built to present the information you give it. So I like to massage the data ahead of time before I even get it into Power BI if I can. And when you're importing that information, you want to make sure, especially if you're using an Excel type workflow that doesn't have a lot of data types predefined, that you are you're refining the data types as it comes in. You know, in some cases, when you export information out to Excel, Excel thinks a numerical field might be text. Or if there's one piece of text in the numerical field, then the whole entire column is considered text, potentially. So when it gets brought into Power BI, you get some inconsistent information and inability to be able to go through and do totaling or summations or whatever you want to do. So kind of pre-tune that a little bit. I also like to take multiple exports. If I am doing a simplified data track over time, where I've got 2 exports from maybe the same Revit model from the recent past and one from today, I will combine those together, maybe put an identifier field inside of there, and then bring it in as a spreadsheet. If you're going to make that repetitive again, as I mentioned, you probably want to make sure you're using a tool like SQL or some kind of database. All right. The next major step is to generate some reports, and we'll go through this process, but you just add some visualizations to the interface, multiple sheets inside there. You can add different types of visualizations, bar charts, pie charts, data grids, all kinds of different bits of information, and present and filter the information down how you please. So you select the information from your imported data, add it to those charts, you do some filtering, maybe do some visual filtering by clicking through the interface, some cool things there. And you kind of generate an interesting looking report. We're going to go through that process in a moment here. And at the very end, if you have a full version of Power BI, you can actually publish that information out. You can export it out to be used by outside data sources, websites, iPads, iPhones, whatever. So, all right, I'm going to talk about this at the very end. I'm going to tab over to Revit, and we're going to talk a little bit in Revit about getting some of the information. Again, I'm going to keep this really short. I'm going to use that as my mechanical model. Cancel that. It's not what I want at all. Well, it's not going to cancel it. Too bad. We'll use that. Doesn't matter. So, inside these files, if you do have a schedule built up, so I'm going to go ahead and build up a schedule of something. I think I have some mechanical equipment. I don't remember exactly. Oh yeah, here we go. Got some schedules right there. Air terminal schedule. So I can take an air terminal schedule that's been pre-filtered by Revit. If I can double click, there we go. Anything that's in here, I can take the schedule and export it out. So application menu from Revit, export, and export a report. That is a schedule. This dumps out a CSV file. Simple, flat file, not super complex. You control every one of the fields you're actually exporting right here inside the Revit environment. Other types of tools that you can use, like I mentioned, there's plenty of spreadsheet tools out there. One that I personally use a lot is the one from the Express Tools here, which is called Spreadsheet Link. This one lets you build up whatever data you want to export, combine multiple fields, take multiple categories of information. Super simple. As I mentioned, Dynamo, great tool to be able to use. The one that I'm using today, that I use for all of my data for today's presentation, is this one here called the Project Snapshot Exporter. It's one of our tools in the data suite. This one lets me actually take information from my Revit project. You can filter it down if you like. Generally what I will do is grab everything out of my Revit project. So I'm grabbing all categories, I'm grabbing all types of data, and I'm grabbing pretty much every parameter that the API gives me access to, and I'm dumping all of that information out into a database field. So my filter has nothing filtered, it's giving me everything, and I'll choose to filter it when I get into Power BI. And what I'm doing is basically dumping that out to a database out here that's on my computer. So when I click begin, I'm not going to actually do this right now because this takes on this particular model about 3 minutes of us just watching the screen. That's not interesting, so I'm not going to actually do that. I did it earlier. But any method that you choose, you can leverage to bring it out to Power BI. Now I'm going to shut this down because I'm not going to use Revit again, unless you guys have any questions later. I'm actually going to minimize it in case you have any questions later. So let me just give you an idea of the information that I am playing with right now. This is Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and I have a ton of information structured inside of here. Every single one of these tables is different bits of information pulled out of my Revit model. I have linked this already in Power BI. I'll show you a little bit of how I did that, but this is pretty much every bit of data out of my Revit projects that I think the API can go after, as far as I can recall. I've already dumped out 11 individual exports from 3 different project files over time so that I can use this information in today's presentation, but this is the data source that I'm starting with. I don't really want to dig too much into this because this is not very interesting. This is not fun to look at because it's a bunch of cross-linked data that doesn't make any sense until you write a query that is meaningful. That's what I'm using Power BI for, is to ask my projects some questions. So if I jump over to Power BI, we're going to make a new sheet here so you see none of that background magic yet. What you normally would do is go up here after you start a new file in Power BI, and you would get some data. Now, most of you, I'm going to make you guess, are probably going to start with getting your data from Excel, because it's one of the easiest entry-level methods of getting information into Power BI, and that works fine. Nothing wrong with it. I've talked with some of you this week who have either seen my class from the past or have begun to dabble with Power BI of your own will, and you started working with some XML files. And that's interesting. You can pull data out of structured XML files pretty easily. Not pretty easily. Depends on the XML file. Sometimes it's a little more difficult. I'd say that before someone raised their hand. I was like, Sean, don't lie. All right, fair enough. You can go directly from CSV files. As I mentioned, when you dump out your schedules, you go to CSV. You can pull information in directly from that. You get the columns and rows that were in that CSV file. So, and there's plenty more sets of information you can pull from, right? Power BI has many different databases it can source its data out of. Different types of file types specifically. Some of you can use SharePoint. You can use SharePoint as a data source for this if you want to inquire on that level. Online services that exist out there if you want to pull data from Facebook, right? What this tool is designed to be is data analytics. It's not about Revit model data presenting. It's about financial data analytics or anything that has information behind it, presenting that in an interesting way so that people can understand that data. That's what this tool is all about. The only reason I'm using it is relatively easy to get into. And I'm using it in this case to pull from a database. I was using a SQL Server database right here. That was the choice that I leveraged. And when I connected to that, I told it what my server name was. If I remember it. I think that's right. And I told it specifically which database within that SQL server I wanted to source information from. And I happen to be using a direct query right now. So as my database updates, my data inside of Power BI more or less automatically updates. So as in the future, when I dump another set of information of my file data out of Revit to that SQL server from my architecture, mechanical, structural, electrical files, they will all start to automatically populate this information, so I have to keep rerunning that query over and over and over again. It's more or less done for me. I'm not going to actually finish this, because if I do, it's going to take it a good probably 5 to 10 minutes to actually process that entire database right now and bring it in. Power BI is not one of the fastest data presentation tools out there that I've seen, so it can be a little bit on the slow side. But once you do have that information in here, what it effectively does, in my case, because I've got multiple tables inside of that database, I have multiple areas inside of here to be able to be searched. And Power BI, if I'm using a SQL database, has already figured out how all of these tables, or most of these tables, relate. There's actually a little bit of an issue right now that I'm working through on my data set. But for the most part, other than these tables over here that are just kind of floating in space, most of this information is all told how to interrelate to each other. So a relational database has multiple links to multiple sets of information. So there's a couple of key fields inside of each of the tables, and they talk to each other, and they can ask each other questions, and they can see how each other relates. So it knows where to get its information from. We use this method because it gives us the smallest possible database. It's semi-similar to how Revit stores its information. Think type versus instance, and how a type property automatically propagates through multiple instances in the project. That's kind of what we're doing here as well. We're just structuring this data in a way that's a little bit more accessible to everybody. So, that was Power BI. Here we go. All right. So, we're in here. What can we do with this information? This is right now is the whole reason for this class. That 15, 20-minute introduction was to get to this point right here, so we can start pulling bits of information about the Revit project out into an interesting environment. So, essentials of Power BI. We've got the ability to make as many pages down here at the bottom as you like. In my case, I've got one tab that's dedicated to the model's file size. I'm tracking that information over time. We'll go back and visit that tab in a moment. We've got a tab here that's set up to look at some of my family information. I'm using it specifically to query how many families are loaded into each project at different time iterations throughout the project. So it's just a tab set up to do that. I can click through it and get some information back. In this case right here, maybe I'll rebuild something that's related to, let's do the family one again. I'll just build it right here. So we're going to put a new visual out here on the sheet, something that's going to represent the information about my projects in some kind of interesting way. So new visual. And you can take these visuals and resize them. There's no actual data grid behind it like there would normally be in Excel. It's just the actual visual itself. The data is being looked at from an outside data source, so it's bringing that information in from me. And now when I choose this type of table, in this case, let's do a data fielded bar graph right there. When I grab this, it gives me the ability to put different data fields right here. Just dump them in. It's kind of like using a pivot table in Excel. You guys ever used a pivot table in Excel? There's a class a little earlier on this week that talked about that. It was the Excel class. It was done by, who was it from Imagine? I forget.
Richard Taylor from IDA.
Richard, thank you. Richard Taylor. So, or from IDA, thank you, not Imagine, IDA. It was done by Richard Taylor. If you get a chance, go take a look at his handout. You want to look at how to do this in Excel directly. Very interesting class, very simple to understand, easy workflows. Very similar type of thing here. In this case, I'm basically just filling out different bits of information, dropping different pieces of data here to get something to report back to me out of my database. Now, keep in mind all these different individual tables over there, they have parts of the data out of Revit, but they already are all interrelated, so they know how they work together. So what I want to see here is, let's see what I want to do. Let's see, for my legend right here, I want to have the colorization based on individual model files. So I have to understand how my data was exported in the first place to know where to go. I'm going to go down to my project file itself here. So here's my project file. And I'm going to take my short file name, which is just the RFA file name. So ARC, whatever the project number was that I put on there, 815, whatever, .RFA. I'm going to put that here as my legend. So it starts to do a little bit of something here. Not very interesting yet because it doesn't have enough information to show me any kind of a graph yet. But I'm going to come back and now say, you know what, how about my project families themselves? Give me the names of my families here as some of the axis properties. And then for the actual value, maybe I use name again. So it comes by and starts to give me some information about each of my individual projects that are in that list. Actually, the Revit file name might not be the best thing to use right here. I'm going to use instead a snapshot name, which is a unique ID for it each time, so I can know for each individual iteration through time what was going on there. So I'm going to scroll back down, project file, snapshot right here, and I'm going to grab something like a snapshot name and put that as my legend. So now I'm getting a whole lot more information up here at the top. Okay, each individual export of this particular building at each individual time increment is giving me a colorization out there of those bars. Well, that's a lot of information to look at. There's not nearly, it's unmeaningful right now. So I need to filter it down a bit. So I'm going to create another visual out there that's going to give me some extra controls. There's a cool little tool here. It's a data filter tool that lets me dump some information in there and I can sort of filter down what type of information I'm looking for. So if I go back up to my families, my project families, I'm going to ask it if it's a system family or not. So I'm going to drop that field inside of here, and I'm going to say if it's a system family. In fact, I don't want system families, so I want all those that are not system families whatsoever. And actually, I don't think I want the families, I want the categories. Let's go back up here. Category. Display name. Oop, hang on. Go for this guy. Value. Yeah, we use names value. There we go. Okay, so now it's a little bit. I had the name in both cases, and it was giving me basically one family per name or something like that out here. What I wanted was actually categories. So now I'm getting things like air terminals and air terminal tags and conduits and curtain panels and doors and duct, and I'm starting to see a bit of varied information down here, and I'm seeing that per individual model. And in this case, I'm only seeing it for those families that are not system families, meaning not floors, not railings, not stairs. I want to know the basic loadable families, perhaps. And so I'm starting to ask it that type of information at this point. Maybe I also don't want anything that's annotation. So I can make another one of these little filters out here. Go ahead and create another little table. So new visual. And I'm going to make it that same type of data slicer table. And for my families, that's my category list right there. Let's go down here back to the project families and grab the, what would it be? Maybe this category. is annotation. There we go. And let's just say false. It's not an annotation family. So now I'm really starting to slice that information down and see a whole lot more meaningful information here. Actually, I noticed that I'm getting walls in here. Walls technically are considered a system family. But there is some kind of loadable family that's in there based on the walls. I wonder what that would be. Any ideas what wall families might be directly project in our system families? No? Conduits are also system families. But what that would probably be, in my guess, would be it's an in-place family. Somebody modeled in place that's considered a family that's not a system family in Revit. So somebody modeled something as an extrusion live in the model. And I can start to figure out what they are. So maybe I want to start limiting this down to a particular project. Maybe, right now I'm getting both my architectural, mechanical, or not both, all three, architectural, mechanical, and structural. Those are the three that I have exported so far. Maybe I want to slice that information down and get just the architectural or just the mechanical and start to see what's going on in there and see what that type of data is over time. So let's do one more data slicer here. New visual, another data slicer. And now I could be doing this in another way, right? I'm putting it out here live. I could also be just dropping it here in my filters and setting certain filters. But by me putting it out on the main page, if I wanted to come back and change this later on and say, you know what, give me all those that are actually annotations. True, and it'll start giving me the annotations. So you can start live filtering your data right here on the screen. And again, if you were to publish this out to, say, a website, somebody else can start looking through and start seeing this information. So you're not limiting down and locking down what their actual filter capabilities are. So I'm going to switch this down a little bit here. You also get to have full control of the layout of this interface, so you can choose where the individual controls go. That's totally up to you. Let's go back here and grab from my project information. So project family, no, project file, snapshot, project file right there. So I want to use the short file name for this one. So I want to specifically look at anything that's my architectural project. So I start seeing that information now. Just the architectural project data. That is not an annotation and is not a system family. Or what about the mechanical file? I start getting that information, so I'm not seeing my duct fittings and my pipe fittings. Or what about my structural components, right? I start seeing those on individual files. And I can see up here at the top what the snapshot date and timestamp is, so I can start to figure out when in time this happened to be. So there's a little bit of that I can start getting into. Now what if I want to know more about what the actual families were? So if I'm looking at this and I'm going, all right, well I've got a whole bunch of furniture that's loaded in here right now in this particular iteration for that architectural project at, when was this one taken? This was taken yesterday at 9 o'clock at night. So yesterday at 9 o'clock at night, there was 58 individual families loaded into that particular project that were furniture families. And then a little later on, actually it was this morning, I was playing with this some more, and I purged a bunch of information out. Now there's only 20 families in that project. So why? What were they? I can find it out. So what I'm going to do is create another visual out here, new visual. This guy right here I'm going to use just simply to give me a list of information. So over here to the right, I'm going to use this tool called the multi-row card. And in this multi-row card, what I'm going to do is drop in what the individual family, project family name is. So drop that over here. So it's going to list out, in this case, every single family that's in my project that was ever in the architectural project. I'm going to do one more thing. Is there a question?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
This database you created is from multiple exports from your Revit file?
So the question is this database that I'm looking at based on multiple exports from a file? The answer is it's actually multiple exports from multiple files. Okay. So I have three projects, files that were related to a single project, an architectural, a structural, and mechanical file, and each of them were exported any number of times, whenever they felt like exporting them, and it captured the data at that time about that project.
Yeah.
So I'm able to, go ahead.
The Revit database doesn't store this element.
Revit data doesn't store any of this stuff.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I mean, it knows right now what's in it.
Yes.
And you have a history ability in Revit to roll it back and say that as new filing if you wanted to inquire what was in there before. But you have to know exactly what you're doing after. You have to go through the entire project, open all of it up. It's not nearly as fast as slices. You never see it side by side like this. So that's why I'm using this, because I can now start seeing this historical information side by side. Most of you in this room, I'm making a guess, are probably BIM managers at your company, right? Anybody not a BIM manager at your company or a BIM admin? Okay. So there's only three in the room who aren't BIM admins. That's okay. This is still meaningful information. Those of you who are BIM admins, how many times have you wanted to go through your project and ask it, what is your file size over time? And based on your file size, how many families were loaded in there at that time? Maybe I want to see those two things side by side, right? And Revit has no way of doing that. Well, with a tool like this, if you export that data multiple times and you store it in a meaningful way, you can start to bring it into Power BI and start asking interesting questions like that. So as a BIM management tool, this is great. You can also use it for other things. I'm not using it right now for this reason, but I have seen my clients use it for very interesting presentations when bringing this information to clients about how many rooms are rentable, what's the actual rented percentage in the building, rentable versus non-rentable spaces, how much is rented versus is not rented, who's renting, getting a little map of the building as they click on a tenant, it highlights it in the map. Power BI can do all of that with a little bit of setup. Question?
Have you looked at C4R and having a way where you could leverage the APIs in C4R and update this kind of in real time?
We
so you don't
have.
have to do exports?
We have. And it's possible, right? There's other tools that are doing some things like that right now already. Not that I'm trying to advertise somebody else's tools, but I mean, there's clarity out there. It's not a cheap solution, but it exists and it's pulling data off of Revit server. I think it's pulling out of C4R. And it has some data extraction. It's not data extracting like this exactly, but it has, you know, there is an ability to do that. Have I looked at it? Yes. Have we done it yet? No, because there hasn't been any demand for it yet. But if you guys are coming to us and go, hey, I really want that, we'd be more than happy to help you out. Or, hey, use Dynamo, right? Dynamo want to do a fraction of that for you too if you want to do it yourselves. Question in the back?
There's no supported API for C4R at the moment. So if you want to do it and grab that model and export it, then you have to have a relationship with Autodesk or go kind of through a web browser.
Yeah. So the comment was there's no supported API for C4R, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We have some developers on staff that have been talking, and you know, we looked at it because it's starting to come out, but it's not technically supported yet. That basically means it's volatile, so if you go looking at it, you're actually doing it at your own risk. Mr. Turner?
So, Sean, all of these data extraction tools require that they be run inside the Revit environment, correct?
So
except for maybe some of the C4R stuff. So is there any way that you know of to do time data extractions without having to open Revit itself?
Right. So the question / comment is Revit, all this information that I'm looking at right now has been extracted from within the boundaries of Revit, looking at a Revit model. Do I know of any way to extract this information without opening up Revit at all? And the answer is some of the information I can extract without opening up Revit at all. Things like Revit model file size. I can track that over time. That's basic Windows information. You don't have to open up Revit for that at all. Some of the linked information that exists in the Revit model, or what